With Act 3 officially underway, along with a new patch and a new agent, right now is a good time to update our tier list. We've made a ton of changes to the list since last time, so you're definitely going to want to stick around and see what's been happening in the current meta. As always, these tier lists are created using statistics from pro matches, as well as high-level competitive play, to ensure that they're as accurate as possible. This helps ensure that we're able to provide you guys with the most accurate information possible to help you on your climb. Let's start this list off strong by talking about the duelist changes this patch. The biggest news from patch 4.08 are the long-anticipated Jet nerfs that have finally come in. As of this patch, Jet can no longer dash on command whenever she wants and instead has to press E to become empowered. Once empowered, Jet can press E again to then dash. In terms of how big of a nerf this is, it definitely hurts a bit, but I don't think it's the Jet killer that everyone thinks it is. This change doesn't really change how strong her dash is when used aggressively to take space, and instead only really means that she can't be as reactive with it. It's going to be a lot harder to op with her now, since you can't just hold an angle indefinitely anymore and then dash away after you take a shot. The skill floor on the ability is going to be a lot higher now, making her harder to pick up, but I think that she's still going to be strong enough to see competitive play. Because of that, she's been moved down to the A tier from the S tier. With Jet now not being as oppressive, this actually opens up room for an agent like Raze to shine. We believe that Raze is going to become way more common of a pick now, and thus have moved her up to the S tier. We also moved Yoru down from the A tier to the B tier this patch, since we seem to have overestimated how strong he was. He hasn't really seen much play time in pro play, but there's still a chance that with Jet being not as powerful, that Yoru might start to get picked more. So I'm holding out hope for him. Finally, Reyna has been moved down from the B tier to the C tier. Reyna is very good at pub stomping in lower elos, but her kit just doesn't bring many useful tools to the table. She still sees a little bit of play on Icebox, but even there, Chamber has pretty much taken her spot. Anyways, that's all for the duelists, so it's time we get into the initiators. The initiator role has had big changes this patch. First of all, Sova got a pretty sizable nerf. His shock darts now deal a maximum of 75 damage each, and his owl drone now lasts only 8 seconds and pings enemies twice instead of 3 times. These changes definitely do matter. He's not going to be able to consistently kill enemies with double shock darts anymore, and he won't be able to clear quite as many angles with his drone anymore. That being said, Sova as an agent still doesn't really have a replacement. Skye is a decent one, but her dog's limited vision range means that she's just not as effective as a Sova. Not to mention, Sova's recon dart was also untouched, so it's just as strong as it's always been. On maps like Icebox, Haven, and Ascent, you're still going to want a Sova in your team comp. So although Sova has received some nerfs, I don't think they're enough to knock him out of the S tier. On top of the Sova changes, we also have a brand new agent added to the roster, Fade. Fade looks to have some very interesting tools that might end up letting her see play. She seems to be very good at singling out and picking off an enemy, and I can see it being difficult to push a site she's holding thanks to her seize ability, trapping and decaying enemies for 75 health. But she doesn't look viable as a solo initiator. Right now, she looks like she's going to need to be paired with either a Skye or a Sova to clear out angles for her on a lot of maps where there's geometry. Also, her main info gathering tool is her signature ability, and it can be destroyed if an enemy shoots it, so I'm not sure how strong it actually is. Although, if she does manage to land her E, comboing it with the rest of her kit is going to make her feel broken. We could be wrong about her since she's a brand new agent, but right now, Fade feels like she fits in the B tier. Good on some maps with the right comp, but she really needs a team to be picked around her to be effective. Although we are in a meta where double initiator is very common at the pro level, so there's a chance she'll fit right in. Finally, we've moved Breach up to the A tier for this patch from the B tier. Breach has been seeing a ton more play as of recently on Haven and is still very strong on both Fracture and Split. He's not playable on every single map in the game, but when he is playable, he has a huge impact. For that, we thought it was an easy choice to move him up a tier this time around. Moving on, it's now time we get into the controller changes. There isn't that much to talk about here when it comes to the patch notes, but we did make a small revision to the tier list. We've moved Brimstone down to the A tier, putting him in the same tier as Viper and Omen, while also moving Astra down from the A tier into the B tier. The controllers are very balanced right now. I wouldn't call any of them overpowered, and they all see a decent amount of play and are mostly map dependent. You'll see Viper gets played on Breeze and Icebox, Brimstone get picked on Bind and Fracture, and Omen get picked on Ascent, Haven, and Split. So if you're a controller main, I'm sure you're happy to know that there are a lot of options in the role right now. Last but not least, we need to talk about the Sentinel role. Chamber is still an S tier pick and the best Sentinel in the game right now, seeing a majority of the playtime. Killjoy and Sage are still in the B tier and see a bit of play on Ascent and Icebox respectively. Cypher, on the other hand, is not having a great time right now. Chamber currently does his job so much better that there's no real reason to lock him in unless you're a Cypher one trick. Chamber's trips are just so much stronger than Cypher's, and Chamber can also play aggressively to make plays as well. So we moved Cypher down to the C tier, and I'm just hoping we see Cypher get buffed soon. And that's all for this patch's tier list. If you disagree with the placement of any of the agents we talked about, make sure to leave a comment and let us know. Also, if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Finally, all of us here at SkillCapped want to give you a huge thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
How much have you ranked up since using SkillCapped?
That would be 5 times now.
I placed Iron 1 on my first act.
And what rank are you now?
Gold 1.
Like, so I jumped from like Silver 2 up to Plat 1 within like 2-3 acts maybe.
What's your favorite part of the website?
I absolutely love the Smurf commentaries.
Agent courses and the Game Sense ones.
I think the agent guides.
What was your favorite agent guide?
I think the jet one. I think it went like more in depth on everything.
Is there anything that SkillCapped helped you learn that you think would have taken longer otherwise?
I think my whole aiming situation.
Like how to use the agent abilities like the util. Before this, I was just throwing random shit. Let's say so far, I just drone random areas.
I didn't know about the audio cue when it comes to reload switching. Like if you hit reload and then quickly pull out your knife and switch back to your gun, the enemies will get the full audio cue, but you have your gun out.
You've come from, what was your original rank?
Bronze 1.
Bronze 1, and you're already up to Immortal, so that's really freaking cool.
Yeah.